Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
You are hot whenever you're ready.
And a wonderful evening to you, ladies and gentlemen, watching from around the world. We are here at the beautiful Sebring International Raceway here, the Michelin Bridge, always going to be an iconic sight for these drivers, for round number 7 of the Apex this Mazda Cup Series. Ladies and gentlemen, my name Mac Nelson, joined by the wonderful producer Mike Taylor. He'll be accompanying me with the calls here tonight. We are at the beautiful 3.6 mile Sebring International Raceway. Like I said, 17 corners. And we're going to be doing this race at night, ladies and gentlemen. So Sunset Corner isn't going to be so sunsetty after all. Surface temperature going to be 28 degrees Celsius. 83 degrees Fahrenheit. We're sitting almost at sea level, 62 feet above it. As 0% chance of rain tonight. So it's going to be a dry one, luckily for us. Like I said, round number 7 here at Sebring. We have eclipsed past the halfway point of the season. And we're going to start getting into some foreign tracks here on the back half of this calendar, with Zandvoort over in the Netherlands coming up next week. St. Petersburg, Imola, Monza, before we round out the season at Spa-Francorchamps. Remember the iconic Joshua Soto performance we saw there in last season. Probably gonna live up to that as well here in this season. Going through your championship standings, Sean Teeter is at the helm for the mid-pack Larry's. He sits on 182 points. Jonathan Cooper going to be 9 points behind with 173. Harrison Mealy going to be around 20 points back there. He sits in P3. Joshua Smith, Mr. J Smooth, going to be sitting in P4. Christopher Croto, Michael Tanagretta, Keegan Garrig, Aaron Law, Corey Mitchell, and Mark Sherman are going to round out the top 10 in the championship. Everything is pretty close, so it has definitely not been decided yet. Meanwhile, for the Pro Series, Michael Brock is going to be leading the way there, and he's got a sizable gap over Joshua Soto. It's going to be 43 points. And then behind Joshua Soto is going to be Charles Wolf in the 00, who has been electric so far in this season. Brian Lemke, who's missed a race here and there, is going to be down in P4, as had a little bit of congestion right there. Apologize. Ryan Ryder in P5. Tony Wallace going to be in P6. Sean Gapinski, Thomas Lathrop, Spencer Beaudoin, and Nick Belasco, the rookie, going to be rounding out the top 10. As for the race format, unfortunately, you're not going to get too much from the graphic here because of the quirky way they do things over here in the Apex this Mazda Cup Series. It's going to be two 20-minute heats, going to be exactly the same in both sides, except the top 4 are going to invert from the first race to the second race. It's how we've been doing it for a long time here at Apex this, and I don't see it changing anytime soon. And enough of my blabbing, though. Here at the nighttime Sebring, you don't see too many nighttime Sebring races until you get into the 24-hour. Mr. Mike Taylor, how are you doing, man? What do you expect to see here? Yep, I agree with you there, Mike. And the Le Mans curve into the Ullman Straight is going to be really, really tricky for drivers if they're not very, very familiar with the track surface itself. It's going to be a lot of winding. And, you know, when there's cars around you, it's going to be quite blind. So these drivers are going to have to make, you know, very, very good on their eyesight, on their memory, learning the track. I'm sure these guys have hundreds of laps here at Sebring, so I'm sure they are going to do fine. Thomas Lathrop currently leading your qualifying board. We've got just a minute left inside of our quali session here. Brian Lemke is going to be in P2. That's going to be a 226.571 for Lemke compared to Lathrop's 226.269. Charles Wolf, Kevin Zhu, Ozek Silu going to round out the top 5 currently. And look at Rick Wishon in P6, doing it for the mid-pack Larrys here. He is going to be soaring over every other mid-pack Larry when it comes to this qualifying session. So we'll have to see how he gets on in the race. But if you're hanging with the pros in qualifying, it's, you know, probably a pretty good chance that he is going to be contending, whether it be for the overall win or for his class win.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, when you can always come up here and mix it up with your, you know, your pro division, it takes this whole entire, you know, race up to a new level. So you're really trying to get a taste of what it's like, you know, to run against these pros and see what you could possibly learn before you get thrown up into the pro division, hopefully next season.
Yeah, that is always the goal for these mid-pack Larry drivers. They would love to get that promotion at the end of the season. They would love to see the pro division. And with qualifying wrapping up, it is now time to grid for our first race of the night, ladies and gentlemen, and we'll get in to those starting lineups. On pole, it's going to be the man we just talked about, the number 84, Thomas Lathrop, with Brian Lemke in that Sky Lounge 41. Sitting outside that pole row. In row number 2, it's going to be Charles Wolf. In the 00, Kevin Zhu, the Totino's Pizza Roll. Nürburg King, if he was in a GT4, he will be sitting in P4. Ozek Silu, Rick Wishon going to be making up row number 3. Into row number 4, we're going to be seeing Tony Wallace in the Dr. Pepper 78 with Ryan Ryder, who's had a very good season, very productive season. Part of 1010 Motorsports, he sits in P8. P9 is going to go to Cameron Frederick in the number 302 with our rookie last year's MPL winner, Nick Belasco, starting in P10. In row number 6, Joe Mayer in the 000 Motec, going to be accompanied by Kenton Bandy in the number 87. That is row number 6. Row number 7 is going to see the 010 of Spencer Baudouin with Corey Mitchell in that number 63. Row number 8 is going to see Michael Cummings in the Pabst Blue Ribbon 82 with Kent Kruger, big dog Kent Kruger, in P16. Row number 9, Jay Smooth, Joshua Smith, and Andrew McMurray in that Rexy kind of hybrid car there. That was cool to see. Stan Hammond's frequent in the stream when he's not able to take the track. He will be in P19 with Christopher Croto in the Vans 305 starting in P20. P21, John Cooper, Aaron Law in P22. As the pace car gets set, they start making their formation lap. Sean Teeter in the 117 Monster Energy Miata, going to be accompanied by Brad Parker, who sits on the outside of row number 12. Row number 13, P25, sees Michael Tanagretta, with P26 being Sean Giroux. P27, Matt Bond in the 119 Rixie Hybrid as well, with Connor Menard in the Cherry Blossom 244, sitting in P28. P29 is going to be Sean Gapinski. Not the greatest of qualifying sessions for him. He actually did not set a time, actually. As well as Brandon Mansell in the number 92, sitting in P30. P31 is going to be the Italian Stefano Campello in the number 9 car. Pat Wilson in the 002, going to be in P32. And then P33 is going to be the Old Spice 27 of Brandon Banks, and that is going to be your lone driver in row 17, and that will be your entire starting grid for the race. Well, Mr. Mike Taylor, while the cars are heading around the track, is there anything that you kind of expect here in this race? What are kind of your key takeaways? What does a driver like Charles Wolfe have to do to eclipse these titans that sit at the top of the grid like Brian Lemke and Thomas Lathrop?
Oh man, just taking care of your equipment. That's what it's going to really boil down to. And you know, if you don't sit there and do that, that's going to be one of your biggest things that you're going to have to pay very close attention to. But other than that, what I am anticipating this entire race is awesome side-by-side racing. Just exactly what we have been seeing all day long. But this track is a little bit more technical. It's a little more tighter until you get down that long straight towards Sunset. But other than that, it's all a nice tight track. So I anticipate to see a lot of side-by-side nose and tail racing.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's going to be very problematic for these mid-pack guys to maybe get up into those upper echelon positions because, like you said, it's going to be tight, technical. It's going to be hard to overtake, whether it's a pro driver, whether it is a mid-pack Larry driver. It's going to be very interesting to see how these drivers can actually navigate the traffic, because we've only got 20 minutes, 2 20-minute heats here. Lap times are going to be decently long in these Miatas, so we're not going to be gifted too many laps per race here. And as the drivers head down the Ullman straight after the Le Mans curve, we'll go ahead and fade that grid music out so you can hear nothing but the sound of these Mazda Miatas. And although they're not the loudest of race cars, they're not going to have the deadliest roar. When you have 33 of them, it's going to produce some sort of noise. And like you guys have been seeing all season long, that noise is pretty cool to hear. So through Sunset we go. Like I said, towards the top of the broadcast, not going to be very sunsetty because we are racing here at night. The drivers of the Mazda Miata, or the Mazda Cup, I forgot that's what we've renamed it. Green flag is out for Sebring race number 1 of 2 here tonight. Green flag down into turn number 1. Thomas Lathrop, big advantage having that inside line. And look at Ozek Silu in the number 911. He is going to be very conservative, stick to that inside line as we head down into our first bend of the track. And this is where it's going to get very tricky. You see the 074 of Rick Wishon there getting into Kevin Zhu just a tiny bit. Ooh, look at the cars coming by. Dr. Pepper 78, that's Tony Wallace. He's trying to get something done here on the opening lap of the race.
Man, this is just chaotic right now. I don't
Yes,
know about
sir.
you,
Yes, sir.
I don't know about you, but I'm enjoying this right now way too much.
Yeah, it's been very, very cool so far. Opening lap drivers, surprisingly, starting to single out. They're starting to get into that, conga line, as I like to call it. And not a lot of battling to be had here in our opening lap, which is, once again, I'll say not exactly how I pictured things going. Although I guess the drivers may be wanting to concede their aggression to the latter half of the race because of how technical it is. And that's going to be a car in the back of the frame there. That's going to be Sean Gapinski. Did not post a time in qualifying, so he did start in a suboptimal position, and he has now pretty much ruined any chance he had to make something up in this race. Here we go, back to the replay. Just attacking that curb a little too much.
Fabulous heads up driving by those cars behind him.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I agree with that one, Mr. Mike Taylor. You're exactly right. Very, very hard to see, even from up here in the broadcast booth. When you don't have any lights, it's very hard to tell who we're actually watching. Here's Sean Giroux in the number 88 Red Bull Miata making his way. And Mike, I'm not sure. I am unable to hear the cars right now in my headset. So if you don't mind, I would very much appreciate you taking a look into that, as John Cooper in the number 77, thank you very much, sir, is heading down into turns number 1 and 2. Going to be our Canadian driver here in the Miata, and it looks like he is chasing the LRC Miata right in front of him. That's going to be Jay Smooth, Joshua Smith, part of, and quite literally, the coolest racing team name I've ever heard of, Okra Slime Time Racing. I mean, it does not get any cooler than that. I love me some fried okra, as I'm sure a lot of you in the chat do as well. Jay Smooth sitting in P20. As Brian Lemke and Charles Wolf are having a battle for P2 right now. It's getting very, very dicey. Brian Lemke looking to make a move. He tried sticking his nose off to the right side of Charles Wolf. He was not able to convert there. Now they head around what I believe might be the Guernsey bend here. Although I will say the corner names, I get very, very mixed up and very, very confused. As now Charles Wolf looking to press the issue on our leader, Thomas Lathrop. And with the likes of Michael Brock not being here tonight, it raises the question, who is going to ascend? Who is going to take the helm and claim the most points here tonight? If you're Thomas Lathrop or Charles Wolf, then you would love a win here to get yourself closer to Mr. Brock in that championship race. But if you're Brian Lemke, you're salivating right now. You're licking the chops because you know your greatest rival, Michael Brock, is not here.
Yeah, absolutely. And, just like you said, this is Brian Lemke's, his moment to capitalize and to start to reel in, those points. He's looking pretty good with that, but, I do want to point out, talking about points, your mid-pack Larry's points leader, Sean Cedar, he did have some issues just a couple moments ago.
Ooh, yeah, we'll take a look. It's going to be the 117 Monster Energy, and whoa, that was a car facing the wrong way. Congested a whole lot of traffic. Sean Teeter had to take the grass. Fair play to him, and we're on board now with Jay Smooth in the number 235. Was he the car? Ooh, a big collision, though. Almost like a conveyor belt-like hit.
I think this might have been John Cooper. Oh, yeah, he got help.
Oh, yeah, John Cooper leaving the door open and then kind of coming back to that curbing midway through the corner when a car had already kind of assumed the position and went for the overtake. Going to be a very, very tricky one to call if you're race control. But Brian Lemke did manage to get past Charles Wolf, so now it runs Lathrop, Lemke, and Wolf for the top three. Exilu and Tony Wallace, who actually last time around ran a 2:25.632. Going to be good enough for the fastest lap of the race so far, but I'm sure that's going to get broken as these tires start to warm up. They start to kind of wear in. And typically you see the last few laps of these races be where the drivers actually secure their fastest lap times of the night, heading through the Le Mans curves right now before we get on to the Old Men's Straight.
This is where these cars really come to life and show their true top speed. This is what I feel like a 2 mile straight here when it's really not that long, but with these cars, it feels that way. But man, let me tell you what, that draft that you can get down this straightaway is massive.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I would have to agree, as the draft is going to be very, very strong in these Miatas. You can really soar by them, and to be fast, you've got to get as close to that wall as possible. And there's a little bit of a shelf, if any of the viewers in chat are familiar with dirt racing, whether it be on the iRacing official service or in real life, you'll know what it means to ride the shelf, and that's almost what you do with that elevated bit of the track as it meets the catch wall there. Once you kind of lock yourself in and you set the car up on that shelf, it really just drives itself for the remaining, 3 to 5% of the corner. And as we start a new lap, Tony Wallace is actually going to hit the back of that 911 DeWalt Miata Exilu, and they're going to be bunched up big time. Going to be Exilu, Tony Wallace, and Rick Wishon there. Pass for the lead as well. Brian Lemke has managed to get past the 84 of Thomas Lathrop, all before we have eclipsed halfway in this race. Still 11.5 minutes to go, and this top 7, or maybe even 8, I think it's 8, yes, starting with Brian Lemke, and it ends with Ryan Ryder from 1010 Motorsports. These guys are bunched up and elbows are out. Kevin Zhu in the 243 going for the move on the 074 of Rick Wishon, but it's gonna bad place to go for an overtake, in my opinion, if you're Kevin Zhu, because the second corner is a long sweeping left-hander, which gave Rick Wishon the advantage for a very, very good amount of that corner. And so it's things like that.
Please.
Yes, sir.
10 minutes more.
Just and then 20 minutes more in the second race. Oh, yes. Man, I love it. The racing here at Sebring, and you can see Kevin Zhu starting to lose the rear end of that car, going into what we call a neutral slide, where the front tires are wanting to understeer a little bit, the rear tires are wanting to oversteer, and it creates a nice little neutral slide that can get you around the corner very, very quickly. Kevin Zhu, very, very good at that. We've noticed it in his GT4 runs. Don't really see it as much in his Miata runs. He is a lot more of a casual and defensive driver in these Miatas than when he goes onto his GT4. But Kevin Zhu, it's consistent result after consistent result. We hop on board with him here, going down into turn number 1. Long sweeping left-hander. You can see that neutral slide. You can hear the tires start to squeal there in the back. I mean, he is attacking. He is taking these corners very, very well. I would not be surprised if we see Kevin Zhu go for a couple more overtakes before this first heat is over.
Yeah, absolutely. Rick Wishon, he is driving the wheels off of that Mazda in front of him, trying to hold off Zhu, but here he comes now to the left side of Rick Wishon.
Yeah, Kevin Zhu going to have to get it done the long way around again as we head up to our first hairpin of the track. Very, very hard on the brakes down into the hairpin. Kevin Zhu going to go very wide. Oh no, Rick Wishon is going to be the one who actually turns it around, heading the wrong direction there. And wow, Rick Wishon had the optimal line heading into the hairpin. I'm not entirely sure how he managed to spin it around. He must have been punching that throttle. And that is going to be Rick Wishon all the way down into P19, 13 spots down from where he started. Unfortunately, there at the top of the screen, Stefano Campello is going to have a black flag. He is going to have to come into the pits. And for Rick Wishon, I hate to say it, and I never want to be hard on the drivers that we're covering, Mike, but that just seemed like a very avoidable mistake.
Yeah, definitely. You know, I understand, like, you're racing hard with your, fellow pro drivers while you're a mid-pack Larry. You're also not necessarily fighting them for position in your class. So with what he was doing there, that definitely could have been avoided. He could have, been a little bit easier there on throttle up, just let him by, because at the end of the day, you're not really, battling him for position, overall, yeah, but at the end of the day, where do the points really matter for you? It's in class, and he just went from first all the way back to 7th because of that incident.
Yes, very, very well said. Kevin Zhu going to be 6 positions down as well, but on the flip side of that, the 010 of Spencer Baudouin, the Canadian driver, he is going to be 6 spots up, starting this race in P13. He now sits in P7 with Cameron Frederick in front of him. And we've got a big group of cars here. Once again, that's going to be the Sean Teeter 117 in front, I believe. Or no, I take that back. That is going to be Cameron Frederick. I apologize. I'm not used to seeing another Monster Energy car on the grid. Like I said, it is nighttime. Kind of hard to see. Cameron Frederick for 8-Bit Racing here, running in P6. We don't have him classified in a group, but would imagine with a 3,500 I rating, he is going to be in. He is a pro driver here. Yes, sir. With Stefano Campello more than likely being a mid-pack Larry.
Now I did update it in my system, but for some reason my system is not updating Frederick, and it's also not updating Campello, who's also a mid-pack Larry. So those 2 drivers right now are showing no class. Not sure why, but it is updating my system showing that they are part of those classes.
Okay, fair enough. Fair enough. Brian Lemke being challenged by Thomas Lathrop as they head into the 3rd sector of this racetrack. Now Thomas Lathrop in the 84. He's always going to fight until the very end. Drivers trying to complete their 6th lap right now. I assume we're going to go about 8 laps. Takes almost 2.5 minutes per lap here down the old men's straight now for these top 5 drivers. Lemke, Lathrop, Wolf, Exilu, and Tony Wallace in that number 78. Tony Wallace still has the fastest lap of the race claimed, but unfortunately hasn't been able to find that same pace, that same spark in any of his other laps. So until he can bring that back, he is more than likely going to be staying in that P5 position. Charles Wolf is going to be the meat of this top 5 sandwich. He sits directly in the middle in P3. Lathrop and Lemke battling in front of him. Exilu and Wallace battling behind them through turn number 1. It's going to be advantage Wolf over Lathrop and Lemke as he is right on their tail. Now the 00 heading into our first bend of the track. The Guernsey bend will come down our short straight before we hit the hairpin, and Charles Wolf might be looking to make a move here heading into the hairpin, but Lathrop did actually lose him inside of the Guernsey bend, so Charles Wolf might not have the momentum, might not have the pace to go for something as we head into the hairpin. Exilu is actually looking to force the issue onto the 00 of Charles Wolf. That's going to be the DeWalt 911 Miata that you see in front of Tony Wallace. These guys are absolutely rapid. I mean, you go back from Tony Wallace, it's going to be 6 seconds. Back to Spencer Bodwin in P6. So these top 5 guys are just absolutely flying. Here comes Cameron Frederick. I almost said Sean Teeter again, looking to make a move on to Kevin Zhu, but he is not going to get it done there. Oh, as Cameron Frederick came in front of Ryan Ryder there for just a second. I thought maybe Ryan Ryder was going to make contact, as Stefano Campello is going to be in the pits again with a meatball flag this time. So not the ideal night for Campello. As you can see, the cars are zooming around this racetrack currently. Hopping on board here with Stefano Campello.
Oh no.
Oh no. That there might have just had something to do with a little bit of car damage, because it didn't look like he was really pushing the car too hard at all. I'm not really sure why that car actually started to spin. Oh, it could have been because he dipped off onto the dirt. Yeah, very, very good chance that that is how it happened. Beautiful camera angles now coming in from our producer, Mike Taylor. Big shout out to Track Cams for Gourmets. That's trackcams22.com. They provide all the car and track cameras that you see here tonight and across all of the Racer Nexus broadcast. Kevin Zhu now in the 243, chasing after this 302 and 010 of both Cameron Frederick and Spencer Bodwin. He's trying to make the move onto Frederick right now, and it looks like it might have stuck. Yes, it did. Frederick not able to get it started, and some sort of contact happening behind from where we saw Kent Kruger, the big dog, has actually gotten a meatball flag as well. Ryan Ryder in the 181 seems to be on a compromised machine because he is dropping positions like flies.
Oh, he got help right there and just, oh.
And then a lot more pandemonium, it looked like, might have happened right in front of them as we hop on board with Corey Mitchell here. Oh, yeah, that's going to be the Motec, the Pabst Blue Ribbon, and maybe Anime Culture car. I thought I saw an anime girl in that car. Big shout out to him. As Ryan Ryder is going to be 8 positions down. Spencer Bodwin still 7 positions down. But look at Brad Parker in P14. He started this race in P24 outside row number 12. He has managed to climb 10 spots up into P14. What a fantastic run from him. He sits in P4 in the mid-back Larry's. And yeah, you're right though, Mike. They're starting to get a little frisky now. 40 seconds left in heat race number 1, and Thomas Lathrop and Charles Wolf are right behind our leader, Brian Lemke. Now they might have been 3 wide for a second, Mr. Taylor, as these guys are jousting as they come through start-finish line. White flag out one more time around Sebring for race number 1, and look at Lathrop trying to extend the lead that him and Lemke are having over the other 3 drivers here. Lathrop, you have to think, is going to make some sort of move here.
Yeah, absolutely. And right now, you've got Exelu and Wallace back there fighting for that 4th position. Remember, whoever gets that 4th spot will be starting on the pole for the 2nd race today. So not only are these guys running for the race win, but they're also fighting now for pole rights next race.
Yeah, so it's going to be a double-sided sword here. What do you want to do? Do you value this race? Do you value next race? Ozik Silu, very, very good on the defensive end. He rarely lets people overtake him easily. So with him finishing in P4, it's going to be a culture shock to the guys like Lemke, Lathrop, and Wolf when they have to get around him next time around. Lap is halfway concluded. Brian Lemke is going to boast a big lead. Well, I take that back. It's a big mistake for Lemke, as he is going to be dropping positions, just hemorrhaging his place in the grid. In the finishing lineup, Charles Wolf in the 00 has now nothing but daylight. Almost 3 wide here for P2.
Oh, no. Camera
and
angle.
Ozzik Silu. Yeah, I was going to say Ozzik Silu jumped up 2 spots there. He was sitting in P4. Now Tony Wallace, who has waited almost an entire 20 minutes to make a move. And he is going to do it now, heading down the old man straight. Ozzik Silu is off track. He mounted a whole lot of curb there. Charles Wolf in front. It's going to be a 2.5 back to Tony Wallace in that number 78. Thomas Lathrop as well in that number 84. Look at Charles Wolf. Look at the advantage. And if everything goes well, he is going to take our first win of the night. Brian Lemke on the inside of Tony Wallace. The Dr. Pepper 78 loses the position on the final corner. Oh, how close between Wallace and Lathrop. Lemke takes P2. Tony Wallace, the MAV Motorsport driver in the number 78, takes P3. Thomas Lathrop is going to finish in P4, down 3 spots. He started this race on pole. As for your mid-pack Larrys, Michael Cummings is going to get the win, placing P10 overall. Kenton Bandy in P2. Corey Mitchell going to round out the podium for our mid-pack Larrys here in race number 1. Whew, Brad Parker going to get P4. Wow, wow, wow. Fantastic race number 1. Driver still coming across the line, it seems. As Brandon Banks, I believe, is going to be our last to finish. Christopher Croto there in the Vans 305. And wow, Mike, what a race that transpired in those last couple of laps. It was very, very conservative from these drivers. But as soon as that white flag came out, they went to war.
They really did. And, you know, before we get much further into this, I want to go back and take a look and see what happened with Brian Lemke there. As they were coming down here into this heavy braking zone. Oh, he may have got a little bit of help there.
Yeah, a little bit of help, but man, oh man, shout out to Brian Lemke just drifting through the corner. Yeah, he lost positions on it, but that could have been entirely a different situation if he didn't have the heads-up ability there.
Yeah, he did get a little bit of bump right there. Woo!
But manages to keep it.
Save it.
Yeah, what a maneuver there by Brian Lemke. I'm sure Thomas Lathrop is going to feel pretty bad about that one. Those two drivers obviously not wanting to get into each other too much there. They are very, very clean here in the Apex this Mazda Cup series. But going over your results, this is going to be our overall results, I believe.
Pros.
Oh, this is the pro results. I apologize. Charles Wolf going to get it done there in P1. Brian Lemke in P2. Tony Wallace and that Dr. Pepper MAV Motorsport 78. Rounding out the rostrum, Thomas Lathrop, Ozzik Silu, Kevin Zhu, Nick Belasco, Spencer Bodwin, Ryan Ryder, and Stan Hammonds. Your top 10. Moving to your mid-pack Larrys, Michael Cummings in the Pabst Blue Ribbon number 82. Going to be getting the win there. Kenton Bandy and Corey Mitchell rounding out the podium for our mid-pack Larrys. Brad Parker, Michael Tanagretta, Sean Teeter, Jay Smooth, Connor Menard, Matt Bond, and the Vans 305 of Christopher Croto going to be your top 10.
you know, I'm going to flip the script here just a little bit on you. What was your takeaway from the first race here today at Sebring?
I think my biggest takeaway was that I think you nailed it right on the head, Mike Taylor. You said tight, technical track. It was going to be very chaotic, very, very hard to get around. And I agree. That's exactly what we saw. We saw a lot of conga line, a lot of conveyor belt action, just a draft train or a tow train, as the guys over in Europe like to call it, a big tow train. And that's exactly what I think we might see here in race number 2, because even though these drivers have been around this track, they've been around here a lot of times. I'm sure a lot of these drivers have participated in an endurance event at Sebring, whether it be on the iRacing official service or any other simulator. These guys, nighttime probably tweaked them out just a tiny bit. I mean, as I know it would be for me, as we'll look through some things here as we are eclipsing past our warm-up for heat race number 2. Drivers going to have an opportunity to get out there, maybe turn a singular lap, see if there's anything they would like to change in their race car for the second race. And if you're the likes of a couple of these drivers that might not have had the finish they wanted, like Rick Washon, like Kent Kruger, like John Cooper, like Sean Gapinski, there might need to be a change made in their camp.
Final one, then we'll head into our grid here.
Yeah, we'll head into our starting grid here for heat race number 2. As you see, Brandon Banks there having a little bit of a moment, unfortunately. There's the iRacing official Porsche pace car. Very, very beautiful, as always. Getting into our starting grid.
Wait.
I was about to say, no offense at all to Mr. Michael Cummings, but I don't believe this is our starting grid. A little bit of technical difficulties, ladies and gentlemen. We'll try to get that sorted out for you. There we go. That looks a little more familiar. Starting in pole, finished P4 in our last heat because of the top 4 invert, ladies and gentlemen. It's going to be the number 84 of Thomas Lathrop. He started on pole in heat race number 1. We'll see if he can make better of it this time around. Tony Wallace is going to be in P2. Brian Lemke and Charles Wolf are going to be on row number 2. Row number 3 is going to see Ozek Silu and Kevin Zhu. P7 is going to be Cameron Frederick, with P8 being Nick Velasco, last year's MPL winner, or last season, I should say. P9 is going to be the 010 of Spencer Beaudoin, Michael Cummings in the number 82, going to be starting at the very back of that top 10. P11, Kenton Bandy, with P12, Corey Mitchell. Row number 7 is going to be Ryan Ryder, with Stan Hammonds on his outside. Row number 8 is going to be the number 30 of Brad Parker, with the number 200 of Michael Tanagretta. P17 is going to be the 117 of Sean Teeter and the 823 of Sean Gapinski. P19, the 235 of Jay Smooth, with Joe Mayer in the 000 in P20. Row number 11, the 244 Cherry Blossom of Carter Menard and Matt Bond will be on his outside, starting in P22. Row number 12, P23, Christopher Croto, with Aaron Law in the number 468, starting in P24. P25, the 074 of Rick Washon, and the 464 of Andrew McMurray is going to be on his outside. Row number 14, C's Sean Giroux, and the number 88 on the inside. On the outside, going to be Pat Wilson and the number 002. P29, Brandon Banks and the big dog, Kent Kruger, part of Big Dog Racing, going to be rounding out your top 30. Almost got a little mixed up on my words there. P31 is going to be the Canadian number 77 Sky Lounge Motorsports driver of John Cooper, with the Italian Stefano Campello in P32. And rounding out the grid, the lone driver in row number 17, Brandon Mansell in the number 92. And if you're the likes of Ozzik Silu, there's gotta be a lot of pressure going into this race. He found himself with an ample of opportunities to make something really great happen in race number 1. And to be fair, he did try to take advantage, but I don't think he really planned for the chaos that we saw in the top 3 there on that final lap. That probably took him back, but he does have another chance here, ladies and gentlemen. Going to be another 20-minute heat here at Sebring International Raceway. Race number 1 was fantastic, full of thriller, full of chaos. And if you're familiar with the Apex this Mazda Cup series, ladies and gentlemen, you know that it's going to be tight racing side by side through the entire bit of racing from green flag all the way to the checkered. iRacing official pace car coming around Sunset Corner here in the depths of night, for the night is dark and full of terrors here at Sebring International Raceway. Pace car is going to assume its position back into the safety of the pit lane. Barney the Flagman waves the green flag, and here we go with race number 2. Thomas Lathrop leads us, but it's going to be Tony Wallace, Brian Lemke, and Charles Wolf all vying for that race win here. Charles Wolf, can he make it 2 for 2? 2 drivers are going to be going insanely wide, unfathomably wide, if I might add. Not sure who that was. It's going to be Michael Tanagretta who has a meatball flag for a mechanical failure. Oh, no. Oh, as there's the chaos. Oh, a bit of pinball happening there. Heading into turn number 1, and you got to be oh so careful for that, Mike, because these things do indeed happen here at Sebring.
Yeah, and things happen fast, especially when it's on the first lap into the first corner where everybody is side by side. And just unfortunately there for Corey Mitchell and Michael Tanagretta there, they both got caught up in that mayhem turn 1.
Yeah, so a night to forget for not only Michael Tanagretta, but also Corey Mitchell. Mitchell representing that Mitchell Motorsports in the number 63. Brian Lemke, who managed to finish not at the top of the podium like he probably would have hoped in race number 1. He's got one more chance to get that done here tonight before we head off to Zandvoort in the Netherlands next week. And that race last season in season number 27 was an absolute thriller there as well. But I must say, Mike, the competition, the racing has been, it's been peak, it's been cinema, it has been S-tier racing, S-tier entertainment, and all without Michael Brock and Joshua Soto.
Yeah, it's definitely been awfully entertaining without those two. Not that it's a good thing, but you know, those two drivers, they are some of the best here in Apex this. So now these guys, they're all taking advantage of it because they now all have the opportunity to win, as we have huge trouble back here. Oh, another one involved.
Oh no, the Benetton 30. Going to, oh no, that's going to be Stan Hammonds in the number 55, who also suffers a mechanical failure, as it is going to be absolute calamity everywhere on the racetrack. We'll take a look at that here soon enough, but what I wanted to touch on that point was the fact that we have all these guys, they're still being titanic, barbaric up towards the front. Your two, you know, arguably biggest titans in Michael Brock and Joshua Soto not being there, it just speaks to the depths of this roster. That's going to be the 074 and the 117. You see Sean Giroux also taking some damage there. That is going to be a big change-up in the running order coming out of Sunset. Looking at another replay here. Oh no, two cars almost
ouch.
in sync.
Oh, man.
They just kept on going. They just kept on going and kept on hitting Sean Teeter. Here we get a look at Sean Giroux in the number 88, and oh, see, he tries. It's so difficult to kind of keep that race speed up and try to maintain the corner, even though you have to change your line because of the car spinning around. As we get a look here, this was the car behind Sean Giroux, and yeah, that's going to be a lot of drivers out. So we've already got Stefano Campello, Brandon Mansell, Corey Mitchell, Stan Hammond, Sean Giroux, and Michael Tannegretta out of, well, actually, I take that back. Michael Tannegretta has actually taken back to the track. He is a lap down. He sits in P28, so probably not going to be able to muster too much here in this race, but hey, man, he can try. Also, big shout out to Jen Brock, Michael Brock's wife. She said, so sad that Mike didn't get to make it in time. He was at the 24 Hours of Lemons at Thompson Speedway and just got home. And she said, miss you guys. We miss you too, Jen. We miss seeing Michael Brock out here, especially me, man. That's 2 weeks that I haven't got to see him. I was not here last week, taking a fantastic cruise that I lucked into by my sister. Shout out to her. Sister's husband could not go, and boom, I'm in there like 4 hours before we take off. She's like, hey, you want to come on a cruise? I'm like, excuse my language, hell yes, I want to come.
How did Mike do in that 24-hour Le Mans? Thomas Lathrop, he had issues coming into Sunset.
Oh no, yeah, Thomas Lathrop now dropped into P16 and taking a little bit of a slide, almost able to catch it. Big overcorrection there, but he's going to maintain the car, not any damage done. Gonna be a lot of damage done to the tires and a lot of damage done to the Pride, but no damage done to the vehicle. So Thomas Lathrop is going to continue here in heat race number 2.
Yeah, he's now got a lot of drivers that he's going to want to pass. He is back in that 16th position overall, 10th in class at the moment. So a lot of big movements for Thomas Lathrop here. And hopefully he can make some sort of more movement towards the front of this pack again.
Yeah, and speaking of movement towards the front, Kevin Zhu in the number 243, repping St. Kitts and Nevis. He is up 3 spots. Started this race in P6, kind of behind the drivers, the top-tier drivers that we saw in heat race number 1. Kevin Zhu, although not looking too fantastic here at Sebring in race number 1. That was mainly due to his passiveness. I feel like Kevin Zhu now in race number 2 starting to get his elbows out, starting to be a little more aggressive in that vehicle, and he has found his way to the bottom step of the rostrum here in heat race number 2. Tony Wall is going to be right behind him, but our fastest lap of the race is going to reside with Mr. Ryan Ryder in the number 181, running a 2:26.075 that last time around. We are only 3 laps in, ladies and gentlemen. So when we pass the start finish line here in just a few seconds, I'm sure that might update. 2:26.075 seems a little slow to me to be our fastest lap of the race. Coming across the start finish line, Charles Wolf is going to be running a it's still going to sit with Ryan Ryder. So maybe a little bit of a temperature increase, maybe some atmospheric pressures changing from heat race 1 to heat race 2, because, I personally, after 3 laps, think a 2:26 probably gets beaten. I believe our fastest lap in heat race number 1 was around a 2:25.492 or something, if I remember the numbers correctly. So being a 6/10 difference, you have to wonder, is there some sort of atmospheric change going on? Maybe the track is starting to get a little slicked off, whether it be, from natural stuff like, you know, maybe nighttime dew. I'm not entirely sure what the sim time here is, but something's had to have changed because drivers are running over half a second slower laps here in race number 2. As Brian Lemke in the number 41 representing Sky Lounge Motorsports. I thought we were going to see something there. I heard a car get loud here as track temperature is going to still be 82 degrees Fahrenheit. I believe that's what we sat at in race number 1. 80-degree air temperature, 59% humidity. Man, what I would do for 59% humidity here in Kentucky. I think we're probably at around 99 right now. It is absolute. It's so muggy. It's so humid. My mouse pad is damp. I am not lying to you when I say that. My mouse pad is seriously damp. As Ozik Silu is going to be your only driver in the top 7 to have not moved positions. We're getting a look here at Brandon Banks. Overall 25th, going to be in that number 27 Old Spice Miata. Just a little too much speed into that corner. And he is going to pay dividends, and that's going to be a position given up by him. Ozik Silu, who I touched on just a moment ago, only driver in the top 7 to have not changed positions, and I touched on that in heat race number 1, Mike. I said he was a very defensive driver. It's hard to get around him. Unfortunately, finished 5th instead of 4th in our heat race number 1. If he would have finished 4th, he would have been in the front for heat race number 2, but if you look at Oz, you know, what's he got to do to maybe start moving up here? As Spencer Beaudoin in the 0-1-0, the Canadian driver is going to be in P7. He's going to dip a right tire off into the dirt. As Charles Wolf still going to be leading. We have eclipsed past halfway in race number 2. 9 minutes and 20 seconds left to go here in Sebring before we find ourselves a winner in both the Pro Series and the Mid-Pack Larry Series. We'll give our MPL some love, Mr. Michael Cummings, who won race number 1 for the Mid-Pack Larrys. He sits in the lead here as well for race number 2. Christopher Croto is going to be 2 cars back in that Vans 305, up 11 spots in this race from P23 all the way to P12. He sits in P2. Kenton Bandy in the number 87 is going to be your final and bottom step of the rostrum currently for the Mid-Pack Larrys. You're getting a look here at Thomas Lathrop, currently running P9 in the Pro Series, P11 overall. And he has got a lot of work to do and not a lot of time to do it if he wants to find his way back up, man. Thomas Lathrop got the pole position in both races, was not able to capitalize on either one of them. That is going to sting for the number 84, Thomas Lathrop, as we get round number 6 concluded here at Sebring.
Yeah, I just wanted to top up, you know, after he had that big spin, you know, he did fall all the way back to that, I believe it was the 17th position, and he's already back up to 11th, so he's definitely on the move. As he's working around these other drivers, and now he's working on the inside of your Mid-Pack Larry's race leader for that 9th position, or 10th position, I'm sorry. You know, but he's definitely starting to move himself back into the top 10 right now. For him, it's going to be all about points. You want to maximize your points now. You had that big issue. You lost a lot of points. Now it's time to regain as many as you can.
Yep, it's going to be a come-from-behind drive like we see a lot of drivers have to approach and have to prepare for here in the Apex, this Mazda Cup Series, as well as Tuesday nights in the GT4 Series. Michael Cummings getting a little too close for comfort with the number 84 of Thomas Lathrop. Pass for the lead as well for the pros. Brian Lemke in the number 41 has overtaken Charles Wolf in that 00, as Brian Lemke in the stealth black Sky Lounge Motorsports 41. It only took him about 14 minutes to get it done, and to be honest, I'm surprised it didn't take him a little quicker here. The in real life driver here in the Mazda Cup Series up in the Northeast, I believe in the New England area or somewhere up there in the Northeast. And here's the replay of how it kind of went down. Brian Lemke on the left side of Charles Wolf coming down into our first hairpin, and Charles Wolf, although having the optimal line there, he had the inside. Brian Lemke just carrying so much speed around that hairpin, and you have to wonder, is the IRL experience starting to level Brian Lemke up here in the sim?
It very well could be, because let me tell you what, he drove it in, and he knew that once he hit that apex, it was going to absolutely stick around that outside. And once it stuck, once it got stuck on the track right there, he was able to full throttle up at the right moment and use that momentum around the outside to his advantage to get around Charles Wolf there in the 00. But right now, Wolf, he's hanging strong in that second spot, but he's got a muscle man Tony behind him, as Tony, he's looking to get into that second position.
Yeah, he sure is. Ryan Ryder, who for a few laps claimed the fastest lap of the race in race number 1, has done it again. He is going to be the first driver to break past that 226 mark with a 225.998. Ryan Ryder for 1010 Motorsports. We've talked about him a lot here in that renowned number 181 Miata. He has really been impressive here tonight, not only in heat race number 1, but heat race number 2 as well. And as we see, he's starting to have a little more pressure as well, building up behind him in terms of Nick Belasco. And Nick Belasco, it's been a very quiet night for him so far, as Andrew McMurray is going to get the black flag. He is going to have to visit the pits. Nick Belasco typically going to be a little more towards the front here. He won the Mid-Pack Larry Series last season, and he won it in pretty spectacular fashion, might I add. But now up here in the Pro Series, he is finding himself struggling just a tiny bit versus these Titans. But hey, every single week he is getting better, and there are some weeks where he is really contending for that win. So the group of Ryan Ryder and Nick Belasco here, if they can almost work together in a sort, I'm sure they can catch these leaders pretty fast.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I want to touch base on what you just said. He's struggling right now in this pro division, but you know what? As he is learning more and more and on track with these guys, he can learn, and he can learn a lot. In just one lap you can learn. And right now, Ryan Ryder, he's once again showing why he belongs up here in the pro division, as he's able to muscle his way around with these top guys. And the last couple of weeks, Ryan, he's definitely come to his own. And, he's definitely going to be contending for a race win, in the final laps of a race here very soon, I feel.
Yeah, it's just so hard to claim that spot to be a real contender, because like I said in race number 1, the depths of this roster, we're not seeing arguably two of the most talented drivers on the grid, Joshua Soto and Michael Brock, here tonight. And even still, we've got a 7-pack going for the lead, and you don't see that in a lot of series. I would gamble to say you don't see it you've only seen it in a handful of series. In all the events and all the series that I've broadcast over the past few years, I have never seen such a consistent, large group that can fight for the win every single week without a moment's notice. And so for the Apex this Mazda Cup, nothing but great drivers everywhere.
Yeah, I don't think that we've had a race at all this season where second place was not right there on the back bumper looking to take the race win. So, I mean, yeah, just every single I get excited when Sundays come up. I love this racing. These guys are really good. You know, these top 5 or top 6, I'm sorry, are all single file right now. And man, let me tell you what, just probably the best racing I've seen in a very, very, very long time in a single league.
Yeah, I agree. I big time agree. So once again, big shout out to Apex This for having us on board here, having us call the races every single Sunday. It is an absolute privilege and an honor. Big shout out to Apex Sim Racing Shop as well. Visit apexsimracing.com for all of your sim racing needs. Make sure you use code RacerNexus for 5% off. They've got a bundle builder. If you want to get into the mud, if you want to get thrown into the depths of dark Sebring like these drivers here in the Apex This Mazda Cup, then head on over to apexsimracing.com. Use that code. Remember, RacerNexus for 5% off. Build yourself a bundle, whether it be with Fanatec, with Moza, with Sim Magic. I believe they even have some SimuCube products. I don't think SimuCube is in the bundle builder, but I do believe they have some SimuCube products over there. So if you are interested, if you've ever yearned or had an hankering to get into sim racing, go visit them. Charles Wolf going to make a pass for the lead. And look at this. Tony Wallace has actually stormed up. He, unfortunately, first lap of the race, he dropped back. White flag in the air.
It is the white flag.
White flag in the air. Tony Wallace is going to have the lead. Will stick towards the top of the grid here for the finale. And man, oh man, Brian Lemke around turn number 1 now. He is going to be the big loser of that exchange. He was leading this race for a good bit, and now he sits in P5. Heading into our first bend of the final lap, Tony Wallace in the Dr. Pepper 78 is still going to be holding strong. Charles Wolf right behind him on board with Brian Lemke. He's going to try to get around the 243 of Kevin Zhu, but Spencer Baudouin is playing spoiler to that. Over on the left side of the track, Brian Lemke has to try to fight towards the right side. Immediate switch back to the left side. Charles Wolf trying to attack Tony Wallace here as well. There's so much action every single place. They have now finally started to file out into a single file. Tony Wallace and Charles Wolf using that to their advantage. And they now have almost a 2-horse race to the finish. Kenton Bandy is going to have to be sent to the pits on a black flag. But since it's the last lap, he's probably going to receive a post-race time penalty. Tony Wallace still leading the way. It's chaos. I don't know who to watch either. Tony Wallace in the 78, Charles Wolf in the 00, with Brian Lemke in focus now. The Sky Lounge Stealth Black number 41. He is going to be sitting on the bottom step of this pro podium. As we head into the final sector of the track, we'll go through the Le Mans curves and then the Old Men Straight before we head into Sunset Corner. Final stretch, final time down. Tony Wallace, who had the fastest lap for a very long time in heat race number 1. I asked the viewers, I asked my partner in the booth here, Mike Taylor, I said, it's strange how he's so fast but not really up towards the top. And he proved me wrong, made me shut my mouth in race number 2. Tony Wallace, but it's close. Drag race to the finish line. I started saying my spiel, but it is going to be Tony Wallace who gets it done in the end for MAV Motorsports in that Dr. Pepper 78. He takes race number 2 here at Sebring. Charles Wolf and Brian Lemke are going to be P2 and P3 respectively, and that will be your pro podium. Kevin Zhu in P4, Ray Baudouin in P5. Your mid-pack Larry finish saw Christopher Croto finishing only 0.3 ahead of Okra Slime Time Racing's Jay Smooth. Kenton Bandy, after having, I think, an abysmal wreck on the opening lap, if I'm not mistaken, he finds a way to finish P14. and he rounds out the rostrum of the mid-pack Larrys. What a fantastic race here in Sebring.
Wow. I mean, you can't get any better racing than this. I mean, it side by side for the race win. Man, that was just absolutely pure chaos, and I loved every second of it.
Yeah, without a doubt, big shout out to Tony Wallace, claiming what I believe is his first victory here this season. I know I have been a little sporadic, not here a couple of weeks, but I think Tony Wallace, I think that's his first win of the year. And here we go with Brian Lemke on a replay. Big shout out. Jen says, go Tony. Great job, Guns. Yes, sir. Great job to the big man himself, Tony Wallace.
I was actually really aiming for the final corner, but after really thinking about it, this whole last half of this lap is just absolutely pure chaos. We've got this top 6 right here. They're all battling it out, and it's just absolutely beautiful racing here coming to the checkered flag as you see them now working their way heading up to the last section of this speedway, to the very long straight, to where all the magic is going to happen.
Yeah, it's chaos encapsulated, isn't it?
Absolutely. All right, so here they come onto the back stretch. Wallace out front. You've got Charles Wolf right there on his back bumper. Brian Lemke, he's going to actually make a really big dive down into the inside of Charles Wolf here, getting into Sunset as we approach it here. So you actually have Wolf go to the outside. Brian dives down, coming out of the corner.
Lost his rear end in like almost the most perfect way possible, it seemed like. It set him up fantastically for Sunset Corner, and yeah, holy, how close was that?
That is beautiful, beautiful racing, and wow.
Yeah, hats off to the entire roster here, and we'll get into your post-race interviews. And since we're trying to come down off the high that was that finish, we're going to go ahead and talk to our Race 2 winner, Tony Wallace, here first. It's going to be Tony Wallace in the Dr. Pepper 78, man. And wow, first thing I got to ask you, Tony, how you feeling, man?
On top of the world right now.
I don't blame you. I feel on top of the world too, and I was just sitting here watching you, man. So walk me through it. That final lap, that final stretch down the Ullman Straight heading into Sunset. I know you probably saw Brian Lemke lurking, and he got closer and closer. He took that dive into Sunset. What was going through your mind there in that final corner?
Well, I have to take it back a lap before. I knew if I pushed Charles to in front of Lemke in that first sector of the track, that me and him could kind of pull away together and try to squeeze a 1 and 2 there. But I was not expecting to pull out ahead coming in out of turn 1 with Kevin Zhu and Charles Wolf on the inside. So that was a surprise. And then I was just kind of holding on because I knew that back straight was coming. I knew that they were going to be there. And I swerved back and forth, try to keep them out of my draft. And I think I did just enough, and I was more worried about where Charles was going to go more than Lemke, since Charles was directly behind me. And then I saw that dive, and I knew that once he dove inside of Charles, that I was going to get a better run coming out of that turn and just hold enough speed to pull out the win.
Yeah, and I gotta ask, because during the heat race number 1, our first race of the night, you had the fastest lap for a considerable amount of time. Did you having that fastest lap, did it give you a little bit of confidence heading into race number 2? Did it kind of feel like, okay, I can do this, I can get past them here?
I honestly did not know I had the fastest lap. I was not paying attention. All I was doing was paying attention to the guy in front of me I was taking it easy as much as I could and trying to save it for when it needed to be unleashed, and kind of just did my thing on the last lap on there on the first race too. I was not expecting a third place win. That was great. I mean, sadly, Lemke and Lathrop kind of messed up, and that's where the door kind of opened up for me to get into the top three, and that just set me up for this race. A little bit of battling, but still stayed in that top four, and it made it so I was in the perfect position at the right time. And that's all I aim for in every race, is just to be within that front pack and be in striking distance.
Yep, always ready for the opportunity. Shout out to Matt Cardona for all the wrestling fans, if you know. But Tony, fantastic racing here tonight. You proved that you were the fastest car on track when you think about the stretch of the entire night here. And before we let you get out of here and celebrate, is there anybody you would like to shout out or thank for the performance?
Just want to thank God that I'm able to be on here every night. Thank you guys for putting on an awesome broadcast, and thank you to Apex for putting on this league. I really appreciate being here every week and racing with these guys. It's been a pleasure.
Yeah, well, it's a pleasure to hear those kind words, Mr. Wallace, and congratulations on your win and your podium from Heat Race number 1. Hopefully, we're talking to you more throughout the season. Have a fantastic night, and congrats on the win.
Thank you. Have a good night.
So that was Tony Wallace in the Dr. Pepper 78-year Heat Race number 2 winner. And I believe Mike Taylor is catching up with Mr. Brian Lemke.
Yeah, hey Brian, it's Mike up in the booth. You got a copy, sir?
I sure do.
Brian, man, what a crazy, insane race all around this was, man. Good strong finish in both races here today, and heading into that final lap, you actually went from like first all the way back to fifth in just a couple of corners. What was going through your mind at that point? Like, I was thinking to myself, I'm like, well, that's not good.
Yeah, I mean, the whole race I'm trying to get out front. Like, I don't know, it's just fun trying to get out to the lead, but I know when I get there, it's probably not where you want to be at the end. It seems like P2, maybe P3. But then Tony proves me completely wrong and he wins from the lead. So what the hell do I know? I guess you just need a little bit of luck at the end. But yeah, the first race, Thomas bumped me there in the braking zone. I was fortunate that I didn't go around, and really lucky to pull a second out of that one. Then that race, yeah, Charles and Tony, man, they just freight traded right by me. And then I think I fell back behind like Kevin and Spencer, and oh man, like what is going on? But yeah, I was lucky to get a good run and kind of weave my way through those guys. And I had a shot at the end, but I think Charles and Tony, they nailed that last corner perfectly. So not much I can do. Hats off to those guys. They drove a great race. So I'm just happy to be in the running both races.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, all around, it was a really great run out of you, and this is going to really help you guys' point situation with two of the hardest drivers out here to get by that are not here today. So what is your thought process now, since you've got a second and third here today, and your points, you had a pretty good points day. What's this going to do to push you through the remainder of the season?
Yeah, I missed some races at the beginning, kind of taking some time off, and now it seems like Soto's missing some races, and Michael wasn't around tonight, and Charles is just crushing it. So unfortunately, I'm also going to miss next week. So I don't think I'll be in the running for the points at the end of the year, but I'm just having fun. I'm enjoying the race, and the racing's so good. And these guys are just so much fun to race around. So I'm having a blast, and, wherever the points end up this season, they end up. Not much I can do about it.
Yeah, absolutely. And before we let you go today, Brian, is there anybody that you'd like to give a shout out to, bud?
Yeah, shout out to you guys for the races. I love sitting down the next day and watching these back, and enjoy everybody that comes out and makes these races as much fun as they are. It looks like a lot of new names this season, or new names tonight. It's good seeing all these guys coming out, and I thought it was a lot of fun racing at night, and good. It was a good night.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, congratulations, buddy, on your third place finish, and we'll see you in a couple of weeks then.
Thank you. Have a good one.
Absolutely, ladies and gentlemen, driver of that number 41 Mazda, it's going to be Brian Lemke, finishing second and third here today at Sebring. And back up to you, Matt.
Yes, sir. Fantastic run there from the 41 Stealth Black Sky Lounge Motorsport driver of Brian Lemke. And we're going to talk to the Vans 305 of Christopher Croto. He got the win here in race number 2. And please forgive me, Chris. I don't know, or I can't remember where you finished in race number 1.
I think I finished around 23rd.
Oh, okay. Well, unfortunate there, but hey, you got the win here in race number 2 for those mid-pack Larrys. And let me know, man, it was a big, big battle. It seemed like your area of the track was congested all night in both races. With it being night and Sebring already being a tight and technical track, how did it feel to be able to get the win here when you were in so close running with the likes of, let's say, Aaron Law, Michael Cummings, and Jay Smooth, Joshua Smith?
Yeah, it feels great. I mean, this is my first lifetime win, so to get the first win at Sebring feels great. There's something about Sebring. I don't know what's in the water, but it feels like everyone wants it a little bit more, and you are right. There's a lot of competition, but just hanging back from that top pack. I knew I didn't have the speed tonight to kind of hang with the guys in the top pack, so I just did what I could to try to minimize mistakes, and a lot of good racing in the teens tonight. And yeah, I was just very fortunate to kind of keep it mistake free in the future.
Yeah, no doubt. You drove very, very consistent, and I like the style that you do bring to the track. You are a driver that might not always be on the offensive. You might not be looking to jump the grid, but you never let a position go for free. You're so good on the defense. You know where to place your car. And so the old sports saying is defense wins championships. You got the win here in the mid-pack Larry's class tonight here in the race number 2. Would you have to credit it to your defense, or do you think you were doing a good job on the offensive end?
No, absolutely. I think you nailed it. I'm much better at defense than I am offense. I think with offense, sometimes I'll get a little overzealous, and I'll just kind of take myself out of my own game. So, yeah, tonight was all about just kind of being consistent and not giving too much away for free. So I'm glad that worked. I will say, though, I think the mother of all jumps in the start of the feature. There was a lane open. I got a really great jump on the green flag, and it really felt like it propelled me at least 5 or 6 spots to start.
Yeah, without a doubt. You had a very, very good jump there. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, I think we did actually get that in our static flag stand cam. So you might be able to go back and look at that and actually be able to see it. But you got it done here tonight. We're going to head to a foreign country here. It seems like we've been in America for a lot of the races in this season. We're heading to the Netherlands next week. It's going to be Zandvoort. How do you feel at that track? How does it stack up compared to Sebring, and are you looking to build off this momentum?
Much less familiar there than Sebring, that's for sure. I think last season was maybe the first time I had run that. So if I remember correctly, it's a tricky track. So I don't know that I'll have my sights set that high. But again, I think you nailed it before. I'm always trying to just, respect every other driver out there. And if I can put together a few laps, I know I can be competitive.
Yeah, without a doubt. You proved that here tonight by getting the win in race number 2. Before we let you get out of here and celebrate the win, is there anybody you would like to shout out or thank for the performance here tonight?
Brian Lemke. I think he was the first to text me on the side and congratulate me on the win. I think he realized I got the win before I did. So I always appreciate the support I get from Brian. But yeah, and just maybe a more general shout out to everyone in this league. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, without a doubt. It's really fun to watch, as I'm sure it's really fun to race in. That is going to be your winner here in race number 2 tonight for the mid-pack Larry's, Christopher Croto in that Vans 305 Miata. Well, Mike, it's the saddest time of the night tonight, without a doubt. It's the time where we have to say goodbye, and wow, what a fantastic night of driving we had here.
Yes, it was an absolute blast here in Sebring. Again, very tight racing, a very technical course. And next week at Zandvoort, well, guess what? That track there, it's also a very technical, very tight track as well. So I'm very interested to see, how those many long straights are going to be for these Mazdas, and see what kind of racing we can get out of that track. Man, I'm just super excited for next week.
Yeah, without a doubt. That is going to do it here for us when it comes to the live race coverage. We'll go over where we sit for the rest of the season. Next week, next Sunday, we are going to be at Zandvoort, like previously mentioned. And then we head to St. Petersburg for round number 9. That's going to be very fun to see. We saw that last season as well. Imola will be round 10 in the Emiliano-Romagna region of Italy before we head to our other Italian track there at Monza for round number 11. And like we touched on towards the top of the broadcast, closing out the season at Spa-Francorchamps in Belgium. Well, from everyone here in the Racer Nexus global broadcast booth, it was an absolute pleasure to be back here tonight. I missed 2 weeks, actually, so it was really, really cool to get back into the booth, be able to see these Apex this Mazda Cup drivers. Big shout out to Mike Taylor, man, one of the best producers in the game. He was accompanying me on commentary here tonight and pushing all the buttons, making it look all pretty. Big shout out to Apex Sim Racing. Like we said, use code RacerNexus for 5% off. Go get yourself some sim racing gear, whether it be monitors, keyboards, mouse, wheel, pedals, audio, motion, chassis. It does not matter, man. Monitor stands. You can get everything at Apex Sim Racing. You can build yourself a bundle too from all the popular and top tier providers. Big shout out to TrackCams for Gourmets. That's trackcams22.com. They provide all the car and track cameras that you see not only here, but across all of the Racer Nexus broadcasts. Also, of course, big shout out to Apex This for the opportunity to be broadcasting this league. You can catch them again Tuesday night for their GT4 series. We will see you guys, well, I won't see you, but Racer Nexus will see you guys Tuesday for the GT4 series. Me and Mike Taylor, we will be seeing you next Sunday live from Zandvoort for round number 8 of the Apex This Mazda Cup series. Ladies and gentlemen, take care of yourself and take care of each other. If you'd like to watch some more Racer Nexus, we've got the Freedom Motorsport Alliance Gen 4 Series Week 7 at Rockingham taking place right now here on the Racer Nexus YouTube channel, as well as the High Point Racing GT World Challenge Round 3. They are actually at Zandvoort right now, so go over there, get yourself a little bit of an idea of what the Mazdas will look like next Sunday. Tell them that Mac and Mike sent you from the Apex This Mazda Cup. I'll say my outro again. Take care of yourself. Take care of each other. We'll see you in the next one.